Back with the party, Ash and friends are busy figuring out what to do first in Marble City, now that their desert trek is over. Events seem innocuous enough, even when the scene cuts to Jesse and James in an alley, plotting to take over the city. It's just those idiots, right? But then, Goth and Twin Dreamer appear, the final two fiends who have not yet received ample time in the spotlight. They knock out Team Rocket, then mention something about their business here. It's vague, but it has something to do with stopping Ash Ketchum because Skyrender now deems him a threat. It's a lie, but apparently a necessary lie. Skyrender watches in secret as things begin to unfold, grimly awaiting the outcome. It seems that the future is so ominous that Ash's death now would be a mercy compared to his death at the hands of the Kaisers. By that same token, surviving this trial would help him survive the future soon to come. We learn very little beyond this. Throughout the first book, Skyrender remains an enigmatic character who does bad things for the right reasons. At least, that's how it feels. I should hate him, but I never do. So begins the last and longest fight in the book. As a preliminary step, Goth and Twin Dreamer blow up the city power plant, shutting down all the lights. Then they perform their AoE duel technique, Soul Harvest, which drags everyone within its range into a pocket dimension. As a fan of the Fate series, I can attest that making a reality marble requires crazy powerful magic. But as it turns out, Togepi's metronome ability shields Misty from getting sucked in as well. I call BS. The strongest pair of super fiends being foiled by a baby? Get out of here. Well, anyway, Ash and Misty spend the first part of the battle running away, because what else are they supposed to do against such overwhelming odds? As it turns out, not a whole lot. They reach the Poké Center and grab their weapons, and about 5 minutes later, Misty summons Psyduck. That's all it really takes. Twin Dreamer gives Psyduck a headache, and Psyduck turns around and blasts him with a Psywave attack that shakes the whole city. Mikazuki mentions that Psyduck is actually some legendary Amnesia Psyduck, but this is a true Deus Ex Machina. I would have been thoroughly underwhelmed if Skyrender hadn't then done a little god machining of his own. So yeah, Skyrender uses his chosen power to raise his companions again, and imbue them with a second health bar. The new Grand Dreamer is basically a buffed up version of Twin Dreamer, but Chaos Reaper Goth is no longer even human. He shifts to a full-fledged vampire, complete with the immortality of undeath, and his rank rises to S. For those of you who didn't know, S rank is the rank invented to describe power when A isn't sufficient. These are the absolute apex predators of the fighting world, the rank to which Skyrender belongs. Well, okay, Sky is actually double S, but doesn't that kinda defeat the purpose of S? Anyway, Ash and Misty have to run again, because Grand Dreamer disposes of Psyduck with one shot. They hide in an alley, where Skyrender appears to them, and makes plain to Ash that he has to draw out the power of one to beat his fiends. Ash, however, simply cannot fathom how, and is forced to stick with the tactics he knows for the present. Ebby gets through to him from the Void Realm via radio, and advises him to restart the city's power so that Chaos Reaper loses his advantage. Up until now, I've largely neglected to mention Ebby's usefulness to the party. Sure, he's an info dumper, but he also invents things that have proven critical to Ash's success, and his life as well. Ash would have been dead 10 times over if not for the Quicksilver's function as a Captain America shield. Without the Pester Ball transporter, Ash's Pokemon wouldn't have survived Aquamarines. Without the Nitro Balls, Tyrannosaurus might have eaten Ash, and as we've seen, Chaos Reaper would have killed him much quicker. The same can be said of the Elemental Capture Balls. Ebby's role in the party is basically that of the Green Mage. He buffs his allies and debuffs the enemy. I want to make sure I give credit where credit's due. After a narrow escape from Grand Dreamer, Ash and Misty manage to power up the electric plant again. They run into Team Rocket, and the two sides strike a temporary truce until they can quarantine their main threat, Chaos Reaper. Jesse, James, and Meowth keep the vampire busy until Ash locates a nearby bank and loads the vault with nitro balls. The Rockets put up an impressive fight by their standards, and even though they lose, they succeed in buying enough time for Ash to finish preparations. One good Unistrike blasts Chaos Reaper into the vault, and Cyndaquil and Charizard weld the door shut. Surrounded by lethal bombs, the Super Fiend is forced to stand by and accept his fate. Ash and Misty celebrate, and reach the verge of confessing their feelings for each other. However, Grand Dreamer bursts in just then, a reminder that their fight isn't over. I don't wish to linger on the romantic stuff any longer than I have to. It's just not my thing. That said, it is one of the two things that lead to Grand Dreamer's defeat. The first is that Grand Dreamer is basically a mega-evolved Alakazam. His psychic powers are tremendous, but he'll give way before a good punch to the face. In a battle of endurance, he might still have come out on top if he'd been smarter about his mental warfare, but he makes the mistake of threatening to send Misty to the void, and that goes straight to Ash's heart. After that, Grand Dreamer runs out of energy while Ash continues to push on. In desperation, he uses his deck of random tarot cards to gamble for a victory. It backfires upon him, because the Lover's card restores Ash and Misty to full health, and the Justice card knocks him senseless. That's the second time now that you'd think the battle won. Grand Dreamer's down, and Chaos Reaper is safely secured. Ash and Misty admit their feelings, and even the enemy's cards seem to favor them. It's a happily ever after, right? Wrong! The explosion caused by the Justice card also reaches Chaos Reaper in his prison, and sets off a chain reaction explosion of the Nitro Balls. It blows the vault clean open, and while Chaos Reaper survives, he is pissed! He proceeds to eliminate all the rest of Ash's assets like the undead juggernaut he is. First the Quicksilver, then the Pokémon, then Misty too. Usually, an attack on Misty would set Ash off, but at that point, Chaos Reaper has him locked by the throat in a literal death grip, suffocating him. For whatever reason, the Power of One chooses now to activate. Ash's friends were all cheering for him over Ebby's radio, but they'd been doing that the whole time anyway. Ash recoils at the thought of dying before his time, but that's nothing new. The moment simply needed to happen, and in the name of dramatic timing, this was it. It's not as brilliant as some of Mikazuki's other decisions, but it does the job. Ash rises again, glowing with light energy that counters Chaos Reaper's unholy aura. He dominates the battle once more, until Chaos Reaper pulls a save or suck attack on him. Ash rolls a natural 1 on the die, and Chaos Reaper's blood fang poisons him with Death Rot. Once more facing impending death, Ash concludes the battle with the Super Fiend in a final samurai cut down. Chaos Reaper loses and reverts back to Goth, but Ash falls as well, dying in the arms of a shell-shocked Misty. Does anyone remember how, in this story's introduction, I said that nobody dies in this fic? Yeah, I suppose this should technically count, but the rule is that you have to stay dead for at least 5 minutes. Okay? That's the rule now. As we know, the Justice and Lovers cards from Grand Dreamer's deck activate, and combine with the Shining Sphere to resurrect Ash. He and Misty kiss, and all the people of Marble City are returned from the Void Reality Marble. There are celebrations all around, and even Skyrender retreats with a smile on his face. It's the end of this story, but it reads like the end of just another chapter. And, like I mentioned before, it pretty much is. So, what do I think of this story? Well, it may not be deep, but it was highly entertaining. It's predictable in some ways, usually good ways, but there are several places where Mikazuki managed to surprise me as a reader. Above all, I love it because it is the quintessential product of my peculiar people, anime nerds who are inspired to tell stories of power and justice and epic battles. This is who we are, girls of the world! Please like us! Rating time. Pokemon Ultimate Adventures gets a 7 out of 10. A high 7. I won't repeat my critiques now, but if Mikazuki rewrote this story with the improvement of style that comes with experience, I guarantee that it would be better still. Just not as good as Phoenix Rising. Thanks for listening in. See you all next autumn.